Discworld is a colorful, vibrant story with so many great characters and settings. I discussed the lore last time, so this is all about the writing. Sorcery in his works is able to combine just the right words in just the best order to make Discworld come to life. The series runs the gamut of emotion and humor, and with so many stories covering different themes, ideas, and even genres, Discworld manages to have a little something in it for everyone. 41 books, take your pick about which you want to read. Pratchett's way with words is something unique to him, with just his voice and command of prose being immaculate and unparalleled with any author. Just listen to his quote. It was all mystery to Vimes, who was absolutely sure that it was impossible to tell the difference between a chicken fart and a turkey fart, but there were those who professed to be able to do so, and he was glad that such people had chosen this outlet for their puzzling inclinations rather than, for example, fill their sink with human skulls collected in the high street. It was a leap in the dark, but hell, he leapt so often that the dark was a trampoline. Listen to how the text just glides off the page, with excellent metaphor and use of internal dialogue. All the right words are in place, and you can't help but laugh along. Genius. To avoid turning this into a Pratchett quote mine, which I could totally do, I will limit my discussion of the prose. All I will say is Pratchett had a quick wit and a way of weaving a story in the best of possible ways. Yet even though his homilies and musings are a strong draw to the story, he's also great with characters. Each one feels realized, three-dimensional, and has a defined personality. With so many characters, doing this at all is quite the marvel. Since the books do not follow one linear story but several, you do not have to read them in order. Pick it up at any point, you will not be too lost. I would also recommend listening to the audiobooks as read by Nigel Planer and Stephen Briggs. It is more fun to hear the writing than just read it. While Pratchett had an intended reading order, I recommend starting from the beginning and sticking with the story through Mort to see how it gels with you. If it does, then you can go in any order you want. Reading the first four can give you a feel for the characters and ideas while also not having to deal with the complexities of any story. It can be easier to transition into the narrative if you enjoy each tale individually. Though reading all the Tiffany Aching books together makes for a strong standalone series in its own right. Pratchett's impressive body of work means he has a higher degree of success than most authors. There are no bad Discworld books per se, but there's a definite hierarchy among the texts, so I will still rank my favorites and least favorites. I will start with the top 5 best. Number 5, Thud. A great anti-war message which combines comedy with drama, hits the heavy themes while also focusing an emphasis on world building. Plus, it gave us a great board game in real life out of it. Number 4, Mort. The one where Pratchett hits his stride. Giving Death an Apprentice is something unique for these types of stories. Having a living being confront the deaths of others and contemplating the passage of time gives the first taste of raw emotion, showing Pratchett can bring tears as easily as laughter. Having such an emotionally complicated book so early in the series shows Pratchett's versatility as a storyteller. Number 3, Wintersmith. A reflection on the themes of mortality and aging. The young Tiffany Aching against the elderly Wintersmith makes for a moving and tragic tale of romance, with all the supernatural ideas it entails. It also includes a great message on what it means to be alive, and why we need change in our lives. Number 2, Nightwatch. One of the best, most consistent time travel stories, as well as a cry for justice and equity in an uncertain world. Pratchett gives some heavy themes in this one, and it does not end well, but gives so much to think about for what it presents. This one is a fan favorite, and for good reason. It goes for the heavy stuff in a humorous setting. Number 1, Hogfather. A story of death substituting for the Discworld equivalent of Santa Claus is hilarious in its own right, but this story's strength is in the development of the world and of the purpose of storytelling. Hogswatch is one of the best developed substitutes for Christmas without actually being Christmas. Having this celebration isolates the Discworld from ours and creates its unique culture and philosophy. In being the Hogfather and rescuing the real one, Death learns not only of his importance, but of the importance of storytelling. Tales like this one breed optimism, life, and hope for the future. It is a beautiful, poignant message which serves as a thesis for all of Discworld. This is the one I placed for the stand-in for all of these books. Now for the bottom 5 worst Discworld books. Number 5, I Shall Wear Midnight. This is the weakest of the Tiffany Aching saga. I felt a witch romance was not something I needed to read, and this plot in general was done better in Wintersmith. It does have some strong quotes, and I'm glad the story got better after this, but as for the Aching books, this one was skippable. Number 4, Sorcery. For the earlier books, it seemed every book, the fate of Discworld was at stake. It became rote and formulaic after a while. This was the most formulaic of all, going down a tangent about a powerful wizard and blowing stuff up. While it does do a good job of establishing the rules of magic for this universe, it overall comes across as boring. Number 3, Witches Abroad, has an uncomfortable joke with Granny's cat. Barring that, it was just a weaker adventure with little to provide in return. As an earlier Pratchett, this felt the least impactful of the series. Number 2, Jingo. There wasn't much of a story or even decent dialogue. Ends up being the most forgettable of the stories, which is especially disappointing as an immediate follow-up to Hogfather. Number 1, The Lost Continent. The only book it was a chore for me to read. So much seemed to happen, and yet none of it seemed to matter. Had a few good tangents and some memorable parts, but not much resonated with me. By his own wishes, Pratchett determined no further novels would be made upon his passing, and his hard drive was crushed by a steamroller, taking all unfinished drafts with it. He had ideas for more stories and adventures, and The Shepherd's Crown does feel a bit open-ended, so it was clear he was going for more even up until his death. While it is sad we did not get more of Discworld, we can at least enjoy the greatness of what we do have. Since Sir Terry was all about words and language, it seems like these books are inappropriate for adaptation. Which is impressive though, considering just how many adaptations there have been. Next time, we take a look at the first of a few of them.